Welcome to the Daily Thunder Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Rabar, beat writer for DailyThunder.com. Every week, we will have guests ranging from national sports writers and local reporters to OKC celebrities and Thunder staff and players. This week, our featured guest is a great friend of myself and of Daily Thunder and of this podcast, Mr. Jon Hamm. He's the Thunder insider for 107.7 The Franchise. He's an NBA salary cap guru, and he's co-host of the OKC Dream Team podcast, Thunder After Dark. We also chat with DT contributing writer and up-and-coming name to watch in the media game, the very impressive Ian Kayanja. Joining the Daily Thunder podcast now, longtime friend of not only Daily Thunder, but of me and myself, Mr. Jon Hamm. He is the franchise sports Thunder insider. He is one of the co-hosts of the Oklahoma City Dream Team podcast, and of course, Thunder After Dark. He is the NBA salary cap guru that everyone in Oklahoma and really everyone across the nation goes to whenever there's any sort of question about the salary cap, or there's something new like a bubble being played in Disney and everybody has 1,000 questions. This is the man they go to. How are you doing, Jon?
You know, not bad. We are potentially about 3 weeks away from having basketball again, so that's slightly exciting.
It is exciting. What have you been doing this whole time? Like, I know you have a real job. We forget about that sometimes. Right. We radio and journalist guys, we usually have to hold down another job to support our habit. But how's life?
Yeah, it has been flipped on its head, no doubt. Essentially, ever since Rudy Gobert tested positive, shortly after that, my wife and I both became work from home. So that has basically been our life is pulling day jobs from home. I'm still doing the occasional, radio hit on the franchise. I'm still trying to help out there where I can, still doing, the podcasting work. But, honestly, I turned into a handyman for a while. It's like all of these little things around the house that I haven't been able to get to. I had time to get to it, so took a little advantage of that, trying to catch up on some TV shows and movies here and there that, again, have escaped me over the years. So I'm finding plenty of ways to stay busy somehow.
Well, that's good. And now you're probably going to be called on quite a bit as people get more and more questions about this new, I don't know what to call it. I mean, it's the continuation of the season, but there's so many different new rules that's going on. I mean, like the substitute players and, the new roster restrictions and all those things. I know like doctors and IT guys, they have to kind of change with the times and they have to take new classes to update their knowledge. Are you like that when new things happen? You're like, okay, got to pull out the old, I don't know, you got some secret like password you go into like the CBA and read all the new rules and stuff.
It's interesting because usually what happens is, there's a new agreement, which we just had between the players and the owners, which had obviously some it was kind of a continuation of the previous agreement with a few other wrinkles, thrown in as well. This particular one, I didn't necessarily get a document. You're just kind of following some of the knowledgeable people that have access to the teams or have access to the league and are getting that information. And so kind of following that. So, I mean, essentially, there was a small transaction window that was opened up when everyone in Oklahoma, finally got their Lou Dort moment when he got his contract converted and signed to a long-term deal. A few other minor transactions were made. And then, there was some back and forth over how could teams replace a player? For example, the news today that Isaiah Roby had a minor procedure on his foot, not going to Orlando. Well, the Thunder can't replace him with a replacement player, but if a player had come down with COVID, like 90% of the Brooklyn Nets, then yes, you could sign a replacement player to replace that spot.
Right. That was one of my questions. So the team, it sounds like everyone except for Roby is good to go. Obviously, nobody really knows Andre Robertson. That's the big mystery, whether he's going to play or not. But other than Dre, it looks like for sure everybody else is playing. And unless they get COVID, so once they get there, let's say everybody's there in Orlando right now, because they boarded a plane a couple hours ago. They get there by the time this podcast comes out. But let's say, unfortunately, I mean, it would be terrible, but one of the guys comes down with COVID and he's going to be okay and all that. But if they needed to, once they're in the bubble, can they still send someone into the bubble to replace the COVID player?
Yeah, and from what I understand, that is possible. But whoever is coming into the bubble would then have to, kind of come in and go through the same procedures as other guys, and may not be available for a period of 7 to 14 days. By that point, that player that is being replaced might be recovered by then. So I honestly don't know how much they're going to do that. I kind of think once the teams are there, because teams are taking up to 17 players. So that gives them, a little bit of a cushion if 2 or 3 guys are unable to go for a couple of weeks. But I think, like in a dire situation, you could see that, but there is, again, sort of a onboarding process for anyone coming into the bubble or the mesh or whatever you want to call this thing that they've put together down there.
So do you think that reworking the CBA for this kind of period is going to have any effect on the seasons ahead? By the way, I know some of the answers to these questions and some I don't, but I'm not going to let you know which ones I do and don't know. Just so you can just assume that I'm not dumb and I have some of this knowledge. I'm just asking for the listeners. That's it.
Yeah, it's a typical radio thing. It's like, right. No, I know the answer. I just want you to tell me.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I know the drill. So, I mean, kind of as it stands, part of the reason why they're having this NBA Restart 2020 to have these seeding games and have the playoffs or do their best, hopefully to complete that, is so that they don't have to rip up the collective bargaining agreement. I mean, the owners, because some games will be missed, and if they miss a significant chunk of the postseason, they have the ability to declare like a force majeure, rip up the agreements. Now that has some huge ripple effects, right? Because obviously there's a lot of big national TV money where I think they would have the ability to do the same thing. And if they got back to the bargaining table, maybe they're not going to negotiate something quite as lucrative. So, again, there's some big potential ripple effects here, which is why you're seeing them try this and why they're putting in so many restrictions to hopefully just kind of get through this and get through the season so they don't have to go back to the drawing board and potentially I mean, in a worst case scenario, yeah, the CBA gets blown up. The owners and the players go back to the bargaining table. There's some hardball being played on both sides, and then we have an extended lockout. And that's a scenario that I think, pretty much everyone wants to avoid.
Yeah, and it's crazy, but because this is going to be a short off season whenever it happens. I mean, who knows what's going to happen? And there's not very many good free agents available this off season. So it's going to be kind of fascinating to see how all this plays out. There's so many different moving parts to all of this.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. And so, when I've seen people, like some people on social media bring up very valid concerns about why are they even attempting to do this? And they are not mistaken in their concern. And, the league is trying to tap dance around it, but it is about the near term money and the long term money. I mean, that's really what it comes down to because, you kick off the dominoes and they start falling in a hurry. So to hopefully not set anything back a significant amount, yeah, they would very much like to get through this season and hopefully start next season and get through that as well. But that just feels like this giant fog trying to look forward to like November, December, what the world's going to look like at that point.
Check out shopgoodokc.com to pick out a gorgeous hand-printed shirt. They have a Daily Thunder collection featuring the 6th Man of the Year, DT logo tees, and a Together and Struggle print, which is also a part of the Solidarity collection that reps support for local businesses and the OKC community during the current crisis.
Hi, this is Olivia Punchal, senior writer at Daily Thunder and co-host of our new show Crossbolts. Tune into Crossbolts weekdays on Twitter and Instagram as Brandon and I debate everything from Thunder basketball to NBA fashion. Then chime in with your own opinion and let us know who won the debate. But let's be honest, it's probably me. Now back to the Daily Thunder podcast.
So I think that some Thunder fans are a little concerned because the loss of revenue for the entire NBA obviously is a big deal with COVID going on. The possibility that there won't be fans in stadium arenas next season, the loss of that revenue. And then, you have the news that Chesapeake Energy filed for bankruptcy. Do you think that there's any sort of fear? Is it real that the OKC market could be hit hard because they're a small market? Or do you think that OKC going forward and the ownership and all those things are okay and Thunder fans don't really have anything to fear?
I have heard that the ownership is a little more diverse and not totally invested in oil and gas. And so maybe that's accurate. I guess I've sort of taken, because I never assume everything is hunky-dory anywhere.
Right.
So I never assume that everything, of course, is going to be just picture perfect. I don't imagine that, there's any danger, unless this becomes some long extended event, that you're going to have something like the Oklahoma City Thunder potentially having to sell and relocate. We have seen this before. I mean, I bring up the 2008 financial crisis. The Charlotte Hornets, their owner went broke, had to sell the team back to the league. The Maloof brothers that owned the Sacramento Kings couldn't own them anymore, and they had to sell. So, we have seen this before whenever there's been a big financial recession, and it could very well happen again. But, just a little bit that I hear here and there seems to, it gives me a little bit more ease that hopefully the Thunder would not be lumped in to that potential group.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. That's good. We're going to hold you to that, John.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone just wants to email me your books and show me a big number at the bottom, positive or negative, I'd appreciate that too.
Now, do you think that this, kind of crammed, weird off season and the restricted free agency window and all that, you think that has any potential of affecting the Thunder's possible slate of moves? What do you see with this offseason and the Thunder and the, everything they could possibly do?
Yeah, there's, a lot of things that we've been thinking about all this time. I mean, obviously you have to prepare for the possibility that the majority of this team is back next year. You just don't know, because again, there's going to be some teams out there that are probably, maybe if they were considering making a move for Chris Paul, they decide not to now. Maybe there are teams out there that thought about, making a move for Danilo Gallinari that don't think they're going to, and that he could wind up back in Oklahoma City on, at least on a short-term deal. I mean, I kind of think this opens up so many possibilities, to be honest. So, we'll kind of see. I think what was in the Thunder's favor is they were already on a downward trajectory in terms of their payroll. They had ramped up, obviously, with the acquisitions of Paul George and Carmelo Anthony, hoping to make a big, long, extended playoff run that didn't happen. And then they started, bringing the payroll back down to earth. They shouldn't be in a position where they have to make any panic moves or huge salary dumps. I would imagine that probably the long-term plan is still in place in terms of building through the draft, having another team that has a good 8, 9, 10-year run in it. But, I think you have to be open to the possibility that just circumstances might push that off again another year.
Right. It's interesting because a lot of people thought that the Thunder would tank this season. Obviously, that didn't happen, and they got a surprising, fun, entertaining season and team. And, that could be delayed yet another year. The beauty of it, though, is all those draft picks that the Thunder have from the Clippers and the Rockets trade are so far down the road, they really could bring this team back for another year, have another fun season, and then start the rebuild. Sam Presti just has so many different options, right?
He does. And I think what I would caution, and this has been said before, you can't bank on what happens with other teams. I mean, all these picks from the Clippers, the Heat, Houston, I mean, they sound enticing. They sound like they could be really good. They could also be the 28th pick in the draft year after year. There's no guarantee. And I think back to, because, we have to bring up the James Harden trade. Anytime you do a Thunder podcast, it's required by law. But the sort of the crown jewel of that trade was the first round pick that became Steven Adams.
Right.
And that was a pick from Toronto that at one point it looked like, hey, this thing's going to come in the fourth or fifth pick in the draft, which probably would have given OKC maybe a more tradable asset to move up. But instead, Toronto got better and it wound up where it did. So, it's always dicey, assuming that one of these other teams is going to be bad, like, Boston capitalized on Brooklyn. That worked out tremendously for them. You can't just assume. And the only thing the Thunder can control is sort of the destiny of their own draft pick. And that is where you're seeing a lot of talk on, that they may have to become bad to get their own pick in a good position to where they could then, get creative and hopefully get another great player or two with it.
Right, because that was the thing. If you look back on the first era of Thunder basketball, the reason that they became so dominant was because they had high picks in consecutive drafts between KD, Russ, Harden. Obviously, they hit it out of the ballpark with Serge. But those three guys were, the foundation of what became a dominant era. You got Shea now. He's the building block, the cornerstone you can depend on. Maybe a future all-star. He looks like maybe that's a trajectory for him, but you got to put talent around him. So you're right. I don't know how willing some Thunder fans will be to accept it, but they're going to have to be bad at some point. And, maybe, you try to get into the Cade Cunningham lottery or the Bronny James
Imani
lottery
Bates.
eventually. Imani Bates lottery. Yeah, those guys. And if you can nail one of those guys or a guy that's, second, third, fourth pick, line them up with Shea, and then, the next era of Thunder basketball can begin. But this is kind of a fun, weird, unpredictable bridge that we have going on between, the first era and the second era. And I'm curious to see how it goes. Now, going back real quick to Lou Dort and his contract, it's interesting because they didn't look to move Deonte Burton or Nader or anybody like that or cut them and all. So they're going to be a taxpayer this season, correct? Again, and they're going to be it's going to be the repeater tax. So, for Thunder fans who are thinking maybe they're going to add even more talent in the offseason, wouldn't you guess that's probably not likely to happen because they'll probably want to duck the tax in the next season or after that, right?
Yeah, and if everything continues on track, they would be, they'd be subject to a tax bill of about $2.4 million, which again, that is a drastic reduction from where they were projected to be. Also, there was not a significant benefit to getting under the tax. So few teams are paying luxury tax. The payout could be nothing. It could be a few $100,000. Like there wasn't like some multi-million-dollar prize for getting under the luxury tax like maybe there had been in years past. Now, having said all that, this could be the last year that OKC is a taxpayer for the foreseeable future, if not ever. So that's when you look at the offseason. You're right. This team has been really fun. People have sort of gravitated towards it. They adore it. But this is not the sort of team where, okay, we're going to make another tinker move or two here and try to take them to the next level. You're right. It is more of a bridge. It is more of just something that is kind of getting us by. I keep equating it to an airplane descending from 30,000 feet, right? That's what they've sort of been doing, and eventually they're going to land the plane. And I think you're going to see if they have cap space in the future, it's probably used to buy bad contracts from other teams in exchange for assets and sort of rebuild that way. When you're a small market team, it's a very viable option. It's a very smart option. Heck, if you're Philadelphia, it's a smart option. It worked out well for them too, and they're not exactly a small market.
Right, exactly. So what you're telling me is I can put all my Bradley Beal photoshopped into an OKC Thunder jersey into the recycle bin then.
Yeah, and here is again, I'll put a very low percentage on them on them making that move. And I know fans, because we get this a lot about going and getting Karl Anthony Towns or a Devin Booker or a Bradley Beal. Yeah. Even Ben Simmons came up as a topic on one of our recent OKC Dream Team pods. And obviously, these guys are all excellent players. But you thinking of it strategically. You bring in one of these guys like a Bradley Beal, okay, you trade a bunch of stuff for him. Can you keep him past 2 years? I mean, history shows across the NBA, guys are just sort of trying to get to one of the coasts. They're trying to get to LA, San Francisco, New York, Miami. Houston is sort of right below that. It's just you're sort of a stepping stone. Right. And so, but if you build through the draft, And if you hit on those guys, again, go back to, as you mentioned, how this Thunder team was built. You have the potential to keep these guys for 8 or 9 years.
Right.
And build through your organization, keep that continuity together. The Paul George trade was done because they needed to replace Kevin Durant, and because they kept Russell Westbrook. I would not expect like a short-term deal like that to come around again in this next generation of team building.
Now, do you think that, speaking of not adding talent, if they were to trade away talent like a Danilo Gallinari in a sign and trade in the offseason, that's been brought up on Twitter and social media so often. Could you kind of walk us through that? Just explain kind of how that would go. And some people worry that might hard cap them or, not. And then also, what kind of return could you expect? I know historically you don't get much for sign and trades, but is there any validity to the thought that because contenders won't have the chance to pick up much talent this off season, that maybe Gallo is worth more than he would normally be worth in a sign and trade?
So the thing about sign and trade you have to keep in mind, if another team has cap space to sign the guy outright, what is their incentive to give up anything to sign and trade for him? Because, they've got the space, they can sign him outright. The player's not going to he can't get any more, he can't get a longer contract. He can't get a larger annual raise by doing a sign and trade. There's really no benefit to the player. And that's why you've seen Oklahoma City, going back to Kevin Martin, paying Minnesota. I mean, they paid them cash, it was Minnesota. I think they also did it with Atlanta to create a trade exception. But if you have a team out there that doesn't have the cap space, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I'm going to pick Phoenix, for example. Yeah, then let's say Phoenix doesn't have the cap space. They want Gallinari. Gallinari's he's willing to go there. Then, you could just work out a deal between the two. And then in that situation, Phoenix would become a hard cap team for a year, but not Oklahoma City. Right. It's not the team that trades the player. If they receive a player in sign and trade, it would hard cap them at roughly $6 million above the luxury tax line. And again, where the Thunder is headed, that's not going to be a concern. It's just not a concern moving forward. As a matter of fact, they hard capped themselves this year, and we didn't even realize it when they signed Justin Patton to his contract in the offseason. So they've been hard capped all year because they knew they weren't going to be spending anywhere above the luxury tax line by a significant amount.
Totally worth it though, because they got Isaiah Roby in exchange for him. And of course, he's going to make all the difference in Orlando. Wait, no, he's the one player.
Not so much. Not so much. But I'm sure he's lifting weights. Everyone's been lifting weights. Maybe there's an Isaiah Roby muscle watch this somewhere.
So last question for you, John. I'm gonna kind of put your feet to the fire here. It's the $1 million question on everybody's mind. Dre. Is he going to play or is he not going to play? You're besties with Royce Young. You're connected with all the franchise guys. I mean, Andrew Schlett. I mean, who don't you know? You're connected to everybody. So give us the goods. I know you know.
I don't know Dre. That's the one person I don't know. I really hope he's able to. I am, again, he's been out for 2 years, and it is virtually unheard of for someone to come back after a 2.5-year layoff and make it back in the league and make it back as a productive rotation player. It's, the odds are stacked against him. I certainly hope that he's able to. Indications are, I know he's been very positive about the possibility of playing, but I think Dre is just kind of a positive dude in general. Yeah. And so, I hope he's able to. I think that there is a role for him if he's able to come back and help out on the perimeter, whether it's, a 10 to 15 minute game stint. If he surprises us all and he's able to give more than that, all the better. So, I honestly hope that it is something he can come back from, but it sounds harsh to say it, but I'll believe it when I see it. And I hate to say it like that, but there have been so many things that have been, frankly, just out of his control that have, kept him on the sidelines. So hopefully, again, knocking on every piece of wood around here, he's able to make it back.
There you go. You heard it from the man himself, Jon Hamm. He is the franchise sports Thunder insider co-host of the OKC Dream Team, host of Thunder After Dark. Check him out everywhere. Check him out on Twitter. He is I was going to make a other Jon Hamm joke, but I don't know his Twitter. I know your Twitter, and I was going to use your Twitter to send – I was going to send people to his Twitter, but I don't even know his Twitter. I just know yours.
So the other Jon Hamm does not have a Twitter account. However, a lot of people think that I am that Jon Hamm's Twitter account. I was invited to speak at some graduation ceremony in St. Louis, where Jon Hamm is from. I was asked passionately to be part of someone's project, some movie that they were filming or something.
Did you say yes?
It's like I ignored it at first, and then he came back again, and I thought, now I am making the other Jon Hamm look like a jerk, right? So I replied back, and I think I said I would love to. However, I think you're looking for someone else. So anyway, I do get those messages once in a while. Even though I plainly state not the actor on my bio, but people don't look at that.
They might think that he's being funny and ironic.
Maybe so. Look at the picture. Look at the profile picture. That in and of itself should be a dead giveaway.
They might think he's being funny and ironic with the picture too.
Very funny. Very like hilarious, we should say.
All this time I've been so impressed by your Twitter following. You got like 13,000 or something. Little I know that like 10,000 of those are just because everybody thinks that you're Jon Hamm the actor.
Yeah, they're all Jon Hamm Russian bots. Let's be honest. I've only got like about 200 people, like legitimate people that follow me. I know this.
Tell me the truth, though. Last question: If one of those movie offers was for a Star Wars sequel, you would have gone along with it, right? You would have seen
absolutely.
How far you could have gone. Yeah.
I would have played that game. Oh yes, no doubt. There are some ways I'm willing to compromise my morals, and that's one way it would have happened.
Excellent. Jon, it's always great to have you on all our shows. I need to get you on Crossbolts as well. Everybody follow him on Twitter. And thank you, Jon, for joining the show as always.
Thanks for having me, man.
We're joined now by a Daily Thunder featured writer, Ian Kayanja. I'm excited that you're on the show with us. How are you doing, Ian?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited for basketball. It's going to be here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I am pumped about having basketball back. I mean, just getting to see the Thunder play again and really just seeing any live sports is exciting,
right,
especially basketball and especially Thunder basketball.
Exactly.
So, and you're just the guy to talk to because you just wrote a great piece for dailythunder.com. It's called, I think it's Above the Noise.
Yeah, so that's like my column. It's weekly, bi-weekly now, kind of just whenever I come up with some ideas. But hopefully once the basketball gets in the swing of things, it'll be a weekly column where I talk about what I'm seeing with the team and what I'm seeing with on the court and kind of what's going into the game plan every day. And so it's really a space where I delineate a lot of the basketball nerdy type stuff.
I love it. So the last one that you did is perfect because it talks about what we can expect from the Thunder in Orlando with the restarting of the NBA season. So, we want everybody to read the article, but kind of give us a glimpse into, what the article delves into and what you basically think we can expect from the Thunder.
Yeah. So for, like you said, everybody should go read it. I think it's pretty good. But when the schedule was released, I kind of wanted to take a look at each game one by one. And obviously you have the big network type things like ESPN and The Athletic and all of them, they kind of looked at the schedule and, tried to say what would happen with this and with that and with these numbers and these numbers. But what I noticed is nobody's taking into account that these guys haven't played basketball for like 3 and 4 months.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of the numbers that we're pulling and trying to analyze these matchups don't matter. And really it's just like it was this look at the schedule from a gut feeling, from what we know Thunder basketball is, the culture that Billy Donovan has instilled in these guys, and the way that SGA and Dennis Schroeder and Steven Adams and Chris Paul, how they all go there and they play like their life depends on it every night. And it's kind of that taking that gut feeling of what we know Thunder basketball is versus the teams that are on the schedule. And so I took the 8 games and I was like, against Utah, if you take out all the stats that we've accumulated from this point into the season, this is probably what's going to happen, because this isn't just what happened this season, but this is what's gone into this whole Utah and Oklahoma City rivalry up until this point. And it was this really interesting look at the schedule, rather than just trying to crunch the numbers and say, oh, Utah has this win percentage and the Thunder shoot this percentage from the field and blah, 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 whenever they play each other. It's just like, what does your gut tell you about this matchup?
Yeah, no, and I love the way that you wrote this article, because as I was reading, I was like, it really is. It's basically a new season. You really do have to throw these numbers out. I mean, I know that we're calling it the continuation of the season.
It's not.
It's been off for months. I mean, this is an off season.
Exactly.
And in some ways, I think that'll be an advantage to the Thunder, because guys like Steven Adams, who pick up so many bumps and bruises along the way, he'll get rest. Darius Bazley will come back rested. And Chris Paul, it can't hurt him. He's 34
he's older
when the season ended. Now he's 35. He had a birthday. It probably helps him. But then on the flip side of that, I think the Thunder had so much momentum going, and they had such chemistry going. Maybe it hurts them in a way too, because, how hard do you think it is to get that momentum and chemistry going again?
Right. And we kind of, again, it's a new season, but we see it every single year, especially under the Billy Donovan era. We can go all the way back to Scott Brooks, but that's a whole other story. That's a whole different team. But in the Billy Donovan era, it's the Thunder teams are known for their slow starts to every year. And it's kind of just like a thing I've gotten used to, me being somebody that watches every Thunder game, is that the first month of the season, we're not going to look like a remotely good team. And that's okay, because oftentimes there's moving parts, role players come in and they come out. We get excited about something. And then as the season progresses, we start seeing this team that has a lot of cohesion and a lot of unity. And that's I call it the Billy Donovan effect, is that he takes these parts and these pieces, and it will be slow at first. It'll probably be really ugly at first, but somewhere along the lines, we kind of find our flow again. But the only caveat now is it's 8 games. You don't have 82 games to find that flow. And so I took it and I said, well, you got to take that into account. It's a new season. It's these new events. And so with 8 games, what's it going to be like? And a lot of it, we're excited, but it'll be a rough 8 games, especially if you look at the schedule with the Lakers on there, and then the Clippers being the last game before the playoffs start. I don't like playing the Lakers. I don't think anybody does, but especially them being our 3rd game into Orlando. And so it's going to be this thing of, can we kind of curve what we know about the Billy Donovan era with the slow starts, and can we hit the ground running? And you're right, it's been a whole off season. And we've seen it followed the offseason playbook, where we see like the workout pictures of these guys. We're like, oh, wow, these guys look like they're in great shape. And then we're reminded that you can be in great shape, but are you in great basketball shape? There's a distinct difference.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And maybe it'll work out well. So like you're saying, it's going to take them some time to gel again, and they'll start off slow. Maybe it'll work out those 8 games. They'll fall back down and get their first-round draft pick for this offseason back.
Right.
And so maybe it'll work out perfect. They'll get the draft pick back, but they'll start playing well right when the playoffs are about to start, and it'll all work out.
I'm not scared of really anything at this point in my OKC fan career. I think that it's just been a lifetime of, pleasant surprises and not too pleasant surprises. And so the Orlando thing, it's a coin flip, and it's new, it's different. I'm very tentative to if we'll even be able to finish it, if I'm being honest, with the way that things are going. And we know NBA players, though they care about basketball a lot of them do, they also enjoy their personal life, and being in one place when compound is a bubble, as they call it, for some time now, won't be easy for a lot of them. So I'm really tentative if it's going to even go through. I mean, what are the chances? Like, what happens if, say, Chris Paul and SGA come down with COVID-19? How do the Thunder even play? Because then we have to call up Devin Hall, and I mean, is that really a fair playoff series when it's something like that? And so hopefully it goes through. Hopefully everything goes well. I think the Thunder are going to struggle out of the gate, especially with the front half of their schedule. But the back half looks a lot better with teams like Phoenix and Washington, and with Memphis. Memphis is young, and with Washington, Bradley Beal isn't playing anymore, which I think you could chalk up Washington and Phoenix as free wins for everybody in the bubble.
Yeah.
And so I think that it'll be a real test of what this team, this group of guys is capable of. I've kind of called them the pre-blow-up, expected blow-up Thunder team. Everybody thought we were going to fall off, but
yeah, and it's kind of been, to me, this kind of gravy season, whereas, everybody expected this to be a rebuilding or tanking season, and here
right.
we're already clinched the playoffs before, the bubble play even begins. So to me, it's like, this has been great no matter what happens. It's been a fun, successful season that nobody saw coming. So now, no matter what, this is all just kind of gravy now. Hopefully
right.
they win a first-round series, make it to the second round. Who knows what happens. But this has just been such a fun season overall. Now, Ian, you have been such a great addition to Daily Thunder. I think that Craig and John have done a great job recruiting great young talent to add to dailythunder.com. So we appreciate everything that you're doing. Everyone check out his work at dailythunder.com. And tell us, where we can check you out online, anything else you want to promote. This is your time. Go for it, Ian.
So you can find me on Twitter. My handle is at IANKAY or Ian K. And then also, if you are into not just sports, but if you like reading decent writing, I have a personal blog that I write where I put a lot of short story fiction and just a lot of stuff that is, one, uplifting, and two, inspiring. And kind of in times that we're in right now, I think we need something that unites all of us. And that's what I try to write too. And so I write a lot of short story fiction about, just life experiences in the different characters' points of view. And I think it's something we can all unite on. So if you want something to take your mind off of a lot of the angst that we feel in the air in society right now, you should check that out. It's a Medium page. It's linked on my Twitter. So if you just go to my Twitter, you'll be able to see it.
Check him out online. Follow him on Twitter. Ian, thank you so much for all your contributing to dailythunder.com. And thank you for joining us on the Daily Thunder podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening and for supporting the Daily Thunder podcast. If you leave us a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts, we might just read it on the show. You can follow our guest, Jon Hamm, at Jon M. Hamm, and Ian Kayanja at Ian K. And you can follow me at Brandon Rabar as I cover the Thunder beat. If you subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/dailythunder, you'll receive early access to Daily Thunder content, including bonus podcast segments, the exclusive weekend edition newsletter, and other perks like free shirts, special pricing at local businesses, and more. This podcast is produced by Rachel Jameson. You can follow her not boring at all tweets at Rach Jameson. Send your questions and feedback to dailythunder@gmail.com. And stay on dailythunder.com every day to catch the latest Thunder news, recaps, analysis, interviews, and all kinds of nonsense.